Hello everybody and welcome to Toyah at Home. As promised, Sydney Jake is going to show you a guitar he's built for himself, and on my birthday on the 18th of May, I'm going to receive a guitar he's built for me. So Sydney, take it away.
This is the guitar that I used on Sunday lunch. It's a fully custom. We've got, see everything that's going on in the back? In respects to the electronics, we have a full sustain kit. We have a humbucker that we had to reverse to create the correct polarity. Then we have a Seymour Duncan Invader to give that really punchy quality sound. On the back, we have locking nuts, an absolute must if we're playing live. And that's the majority of it. It weighs about 6.5 kilos, so it's a lot of weight. It's very heavy to hold for long periods of time.
Will mine be that heavy?
No. This is the reason why it's such heavy is because the extra electronics that we've got in it. With the sustain kit and having the two humbuckers, Toyahs that I'm building, we have one humbucker and the sustain kit. So the central pickup won't be in it.
So those of you listening on radio, the guitar is white like a ghost. It's also got gold. It's absolutely the most beautiful guitar. Now, Sydney, I asked if I could have an exact replica, and obviously I'm really small and I can't carry that amount of weight. So Sydney has chosen turquoise blue on white for mine, and I'm so excited because, as everyone knows, I love blue. So Sydney, I think we should hear you play this Ghost. Such a great sound. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that is real rock. Robert thinks it's one of the best sounding guitars he's ever heard. How long does it take you to make one?
The initial electronics take about a week to 2 weeks. The paint takes 3 weeks, because we have to put up the layers over a period of time, especially with the lacquer, and then putting the glitter through the lacquer as well. Then we get it back and then we rebuild it again. So it takes another 2 weeks. So in all that, we can do one in about 2 months if we have to.
And what's really lovely is the paintwork's done by a local man who is a discovered genius, discovered in lockdown. He is so brilliant at painting guitars.
He originally started by painting helicopters, and we use a similar paint to helicopters as why it's so solid. It doesn't chip at all whatsoever, which works great when you're using it for performance.
So, a lot of people have been asking, who is Sydney? Well, Sydney's a bit of a ghost in our life. He also likes to slash his guitar. He's also a bit of a Steve Vai when it comes to shredding. And I think he's very, very much like an Adrian Belew when he's being inventive. So one day, but we might not be on this planet, you might find out who Sydney Jake is. He could even be Robert and my secret child. So, we're going to go to our first song. This is the Toyah Band with the acoustic version of Sensational at the wonderful Water Rats with the late, great Colin Hines. Enjoy, and thank you, Sydney.
Take care, everyone.
Hey, little wonder, don't cry. You'll be fine, we're gonna fly. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little starlight, hey, little soul. Hey, little girl, come rock and roll. Hey, little satellite, burning bright. God made you to light the nights. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little star. Look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. sky ignites. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. You're a star. Star. Hey, little dreamer, you are the one. Don't let them steal your sun. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. You're sensational. You're sensational. You're sensational. That was Sensational at the Water Rats with the wonderful Toyah band. Chris Wong on guitar and vocals, John Humphrey, vocals and beatbox, late great Colin Hines from China Crisis, vocals and the most beautiful sounding guitar, and Mike Nichols, vocals and bass. So thank you boys for that, and I can't wait to be working with you again. What's so lovely about performing at the Water Rats is the audience, and you've got quite a few hundred in a room no bigger than this. I mean, they're all like that, and you can hear every word they sing back at you. It's absolutely glorious, and boy, have I missed that. Thank you to Sydney Jake for explaining the guitar and how he makes them. It's my birthday in a month's time, and I will get the guitar he's been making for me, and I cannot wait. I have fallen in love with the process of socializing while playing guitar, socializing while learning guitar, and having the guitar in my hand at 2 in the morning, where I have some way of exploring music that I absolutely adore. It's relatively new to me. I started learning guitar last November, and it's become a very precious part of my life. But what's really intrigued me is I can be with other people far longer than normal if I have a guitar in my hand, because the interaction, the language of playing those notes and responding to other people's notes and rhythm energize me. And I suppose one could say it's like having a gig, but in a home environment. It's fabulous. I am a lot better this week. I have spent 3 weeks on broth only. Then I moved on to pureed vegetables, and suddenly 2 days ago I turned the corner and I can now eat solid food again. It was just one of those really weird bugs that no one knew where it came from or what it was about. All my tests at the hospital were perfectly normal, in fact above normal. I'm one of these people that has a younger body than my actual age, so it was quite a challenge getting through everything I had to do without being able to eat. So hopefully that won't happen again. My first question, and I love the questions this week, they are just intriguing. Jack Mocko, you say you love the jewellery I wore in the late 70s. Have I still got the rings and the jewellery made for me by the Great Frog on Carnaby Street, which had artificial eyes in? You say, Jack, that you loved saving up all your hard-earned pennies when you were 18 and you headed off to Carnaby Street in London to buy a similar one. And you still have yours, and you get comments all the time when you wear it. It doesn't fit on the finger you originally bought it for. Okay, Jack, mine do not fit on my fingers either. So these were quite punky at the time. They were made from glass eyes, obviously artificial eyes, from the surgical industry. The Great Frog made them. They were made by the founder of the Great Frog, wonderful, wonderful man. And they're so beautifully made. I mean, look at the edging on that. That is not easy to do. Beautiful cut silver edging, little spikes. Now, I used to wear mine on my middle finger. I can't even get that past the first knuckle now. My hands have changed shape. Let's see if I get it. I can just get it past the second knuckle on my ring finger, but no, I'd have to wear these on my little finger now, which I wouldn't want to do in case I lose them. Also, this wonderful, wonderful bangle, which I think is extraordinary. Now, this is silver, so you will notice I have not cleaned it because I don't want silver cleaner to strip it down. And this is from Helen and Emma, who used to hang out outside the Vaudeville Theatre when I was doing Three Men on the Horse with the National Theatre. So they gave me that. I've still got it. I love it very much. And then in 2002, I asked the Great Frog to make me some crucifixes. This one is a moonstone crucifix with 6 moonstones, because I love moonstones and my wedding ring is moonstone. I wore that in the jungle in 2003 when I did Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. And I love garnet, so they made me this beautiful garnet crucifix, actually probably about 1994 when I was doing the Good Sex Guide late, because the studio was around the corner from their shop. So I could pop in, see the boss and do some designs with him, and he made me that. So thank you for that. Yes, I still have the jewellery, I cherish it and I love it. Mark Monroe, from Ulrich, you ask, how long did you keep your black contact lenses for that I used on Brave New World, the video in 1982? Soon after seeing yours at the young age of 16, you say, Mark, you went to Harley Street and had some made. Mine were made in Pimlico. You wore them, Mark, in religious education. The school teacher went crazy. Well, big black contact lenses. I'm not surprised. And you also say, Mark, that your mum took them away from you and was very, very angry. Mark, mine were made in Pimlico and they cost about, I think, £180 in 82 to be made. That's very, very expensive. I still have mine. And occasionally, and I say occasionally, the last time I put these in was at least 20 years ago, because obviously your eyes change shape, and these were made in 82. And I would never wear them again because I would just get a huge eye infection. But these are the original contact lenses made in Pimlico by a man who was the only man I could find in the UK at the time making them. And as you know, Steve Strange wore a pair, I believe, in fade to grey, and he wore them all day long. Even in the nightclubs he worked in, he was wearing them. I only ever wore mine for photo shoots. I found it impossible to wear them on stage because I would just fall over everything. They're like the most dense sunglasses you could ever wear. So I still have them and I still cherish them. They've not torn, they have not ripped, they're in great condition, and they're pretty hard to get on because they're so large, and you have to open the eye right up and let them slide on, and many times your eye rejects them. I kind of got used to it, but
I realized that these were more valuable and more precious being stored in the fluid in its original container. What was wonderful about doing photography with them in is they made your face look smaller. And it was one of the tricks of photography at the time. If you could make your irises look larger, you instantly looked younger, looked smaller, and it was something that appealed right across the world, especially in Japan and Asia. They love that look of the large eyes and the smaller mouth. So it was a kind of photographic fashion trick to wear them. Today, obviously, you can get contact lenses of all colours, but in 1982, it was a new science. So, Mark, thank you so much for that question. And I had to go searching for those. They're kept in a refrigerator, along with many other precious things like makeup from the time, because I have my own Toyah range of makeup at that time, which I store now in a cool place so that it's in pristine condition. Stevie Hounsley Singh, you ask, where do I get my drive, motivation and inspiration for all my amazing work? Stevie, thank you for the compliment. That's really great. I think part of it comes from the fact that, and you might have this as well, I'm sure many people do, my brain is a racer. I have photographic memory. I learn scripts really quickly, and I have very brilliant formed ideas very quickly. And I've learnt the hard way that I have to write everything down at the speed of light or I'm going to lose it. So my body and my mind are almost opposed to each other. And I think part of my motivation is my natural energy, the way I was made, the way I was born. But it does reflect very strongly on my upbringing, where I was seen as someone that was never going to achieve anything. Very little praise came my way, and very little sympathy came my way. And I found my young life challenging because of that. And when I left school at the age of 17 and went into drama school for a year, I suddenly realized that I wasn't speaking the way I should for drama. I had a major speech impediment, and I wasn't walking properly for the kind of drama I loved. And I had a lot of learning to do. I had to have physical education as well as retraining of my voice, because I knew up here I was a very high IQ, very intelligent, but it was getting it from up here through a body that did something completely different. And I got there through further education. I ended up at the National Theatre at the age of 18, and they taught me how to speak properly. And then I started to have private dancing lessons with a wonderful choreographer called Dee, who choreographed Pants People and Legs and Co. on Top of the Pops. And she taught me deportment and how to move and how to disguise certain characteristics I have within my movement. So realizing that everyone underestimated me made me, I believe, overestimate myself, and I became a fighter. And my motivation is partly my revenge, but I do have huge creative ideas, and I'm always having to learn the technique of getting the idea up there, out of the hands and out of the mouth and within movement. And it's been a constant life journey, getting the images, the wonderful images I have of clothes design, jewelry design, songs, out of this body. And the way I've explained this when I do public speaking, because I do a lot of public speaking about dyslexia, is that a dyslexic up here in the brain is always flying. They are always super creative. The biggest hurdle with dyslexia is getting ideas and meaning and language out into the world. And that language could be the written word, the spoken word,
the word of dance or the word of drawing, the word of art, the word of acting. How do you get that out of this particular body and into the world? And so what I'm saying to you, Stevie, is that I think people with my particular way of being made, which is dyslexic and dyspraxia, is that we constantly need to learn. We constantly need to do a form of exercise that keep the cerebellum firing, keep the neurons in the brain triggering. And I've just learnt the hard way, you can't be lazy about this. You need permanent stimulation. And one of the exercises I was taught in 2000 when I did the Winfred Dorr course, which was purely for dyslexia, was you spin on the spot and then you look to the corner of the room, look to the next corner of the room, and this fires the cerebellum at the front. It gets everything firing. It forms nerve endings that will join to other nerve pathways, neural pathways. I found it absolutely valuable. And I would do that for an hour every day. And I did that while writing Living Out Loud, my autobiography. And it helped the whole writing process and fired up my brain. So when you see me on stage and I move a lot, I think part of that movement is how I have my focus and the next thoughts. I just have learned to do everything through movement. And luckily, I went into the acting profession and the music profession during punk, where everyone had to pogo. I mean, imagine what that did to my brain. It just inspired me so much. So another part of my inspiration, I think, is I've always believed we have the right for longevity. And what I mean by longevity is that we have a life journey that it never stops at the school gates, that's education. And then our career and everything that we achieve in our 20s doesn't stop as soon as you hit 30. It's a progressive journey of achievement all the way through your life. And I think part of that is because as the world evolves, as culture evolves, you can see that we are meant to be creative the whole time. Even in the kitchen, you see your friends who think they can't draw or they think they can't act or they can't sing, produce the most wonderful meal. And you say to them, that's creativity. That is art. We are all made. I believe the whole evolution of the human race is because we are creative. We're problem solvers. We move forward through time. And part of my motivation is that I have the gift of time in this life and I don't want to waste it. I want to be inspired and putting things out there. Now, the problem is there's a lot of things I want to put out there that I need to learn about. So it's, you know, time is always trying to find time to learn, find time to get new techniques. And honestly, in lockdown, as weird as the last year has been and worrying as the last year has been and terrifying, I've actually had time to do things I should have done in my 20s, like pick the guitar up. So I find inspiration in my journey through time. And I hope that makes sense because time is so valuable. And every person I am and become with every new year, I think is a completely different person. And therefore, there's different inspirations and different things to do. And thank you so much for your question, Stevie. I think we all need motivation and inspiration. And if you live in an environment where people don't allow you to flourish in that way, I think you need to just realize that we all need to flourish in that way, and you have a right to be creative and you have a right to be motivated. I was brought up in a house where I had ideas and I was just told those ideas were no good and they were stupid. So, you know, fight for yourself. If you want to be a creative, motivated person, I think you need to find that in yourself to begin with and then find like-minded people. So I hope that helps. Will Kerridge, you've performed in Shakespeare plays. Yeah, quite a few actually. I've done Midsummer Night's Dream at least twice. I played Hermia first time in Shakespeare in Birmingham Repertory Theatre. That was a fabulous production. I absolutely loved it, about 88. I obviously played Miranda in Derek Jarman's movie The Tempest, adored that. I've played Puck in Regent's Park in Midsummer Night's Dream. I've also toured Taming of the Shrew, and I have also done at Ludlow Castle Much Ado About Nothing. So that's it, about 5 times I've done Shakespeare. You say that I've done a number of plays in outdoor productions. Which was my favourite, and how was it being a skateboarding Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream at Regent's Park? Regent's Park in London is an absolutely beautiful performance space. It's an amphitheatre bang in the middle of the park. You can hear the horns of the cars in the cities. You can hear birds. You have squirrels running across the stage. When I was there, you also had ducks walking in and around the audience, knowing they were going to be fed. And you quite often heard members of the audience go, "Ow! Bugger off," as a duck was pecking at their feet because they wanted to be fed. And on one occasion, a whole row of the audience got up and ran when a squirrel started crawling up them. It was a wonderful, wonderful area to work. And I decided that my Puck, who was a winged Puck, I had beautiful wings, I was dressed as a sailor boy, was never going to touch the ground unless I had to, and my wings couldn't help me fly. So I worked on roller skates, skateboard, a huge penny farthing bicycle that terrified me, and also I spent a lot of time up ladders, keeping off the ground. Now the thing with the skateboard, I could never get my balance on the very rugged woodwork of the stage. The stage was built out of rough wood, so I used to surf on the skateboard. I'd run from the wings, jump onto the board and surf in an arc around Titania and Oberon. It was great fun. I was very, very strong in 1993. I could do that. But there were the odd occasions where I lost control and the skateboard would shoot into the audience. And I remember with the penny farthing, which was as high as I was, and the seat on penny farthings is right up there. I was just terrified. It took so much strength to cycle that thing, because you cycle that big main wheel with purely your own body strength, and to do that in front of a live audience, it was terrifying. But I loved that production, and I loved playing Puck. I played Puck as a mercurial punk with lots of energy, just throwing myself around the stage. And glorious as the sun went down in Act 2 and the lights came up during those magical moments when the lovers were in the forest and we were all playing tricks on them. It was adorable. Absolutely adorable. I also loved playing Kate in Taming of the Shrew with John Labanowski playing my Petruchio. We had a wonderful tour. It was a breathtaking success critically, and it completely sold out. Much Ado About Nothing at Ludlow. No one warned me in July that Ludlow, which is just on the edge of Wales, I don't believe it's in Wales, a beautiful castle, that Ludlow could get snow in June and July, and we got snow, rain, hurricanes, the lot, and we were on the parapets of this castle with no safety whatsoever in the pouring rain doing love scenes. I love the language of Shakespeare. I never understood it at school and never really appreciated it at school. But once Derek Jarman introduced me to Shakespeare and the hidden meanings, and what Shakespeare did for the common man was feed the common man kind of secret information from the Illuminati and all of that, boy, I fell absolutely in love with this enigmatic figure that no one knows if the writing was one person or a team. And I now live 16 miles from Stratford-on-Avon, so I'm still very influenced and very aware that I'm living in the presence of William Shakespeare.
I loved the language, and I absolutely adored learning and rehearsing and touring these plays. It was an honour, and I would not say no to ever doing it again. And I think there's some very interesting parts. Now that I'm turning 63, there's some pretty amazing things that I could do and get on with. With Our Taming of the Shrew, directed by Robin Midgley. I remember we were in Brighton, and in the interval and the beginning of Act 2, we invited the audience during the interval to come on stage and have a glass of wine. Now, this was a massive success. Funnily enough, in Malvern Theatre, Steve Oram, my co-actor and director of the movie R, came up on stage with me when he was there at a school matinee, and he sat next to me during the opening scenes of Act 2. But I'm going to go back to an incident in Brighton. So in Brighton, the theatre there is like a wedding cake. It's got 3 tiers, tiny theatre, very steep tiers stacked on top of each other, and an orchestra pit. So we built walkways where the audience can go upstairs, go across the orchestra pit, and come on stage. And it's a raked stage, so it was like that. And you got to watch members of the public when they're on a raked stage, because they'll stumble backwards. They're not used to it. And during the interval, they came on, they had their wine, they come off, a few stay round the banquet table for the opening banquet scene in Act 2. And John Labanowski and I were having this fight sequence during the banquet scene, Kate versus Petruchio, when we hear this little voice, help me, I'm down here. And we ignored it because it was so innocuous, we had no idea where it was coming from. Please, would someone help me? And we look into the orchestra pit, and someone had fallen in, and they were very, very drunk. They were okay. And the reason I'm laughing, I mean, the whole audience was laughing. So John Labanowski and I pulled this person out of the orchestra pit, and we sat at the banqueting table, and we cried and cried and cried with laughter, and the whole audience for about 20 minutes, we could not get our composure whatsoever. And it was kind of glorious. I mean, the person was okay. They kind of slipped down into the orchestra pit rather than had a nasty fall. The curtain came down half an hour late that night, and you pay a fine if the curtain comes down late. But it was such a joyous Act 2, and the whole of that audience will never forget that moment, that we were happy to run late. This is the glorious thing about touring a stage play, or even in any venue, is magical things like that can happen. Really extraordinary things can happen that you have to deal with in the heat of the moment and keep the play running and pull it back together again. I must have mentioned before, when I was 18 at the National Theatre, there was a bomb scare during one of my scenes, and I was on stage, on the Olivier stage, on my own, and a man stood up in the audience and said, there's a parcel under my seat. And I didn't know what to do, so I carried on. And he kept saying, seriously, we have to stop the show. There's a parcel under my seat. This is 1977, about March, February. And Maximilian Schell came on stage, the director, and he said, we'll stop now, Toyah. Please, could everyone leave the theatre? So we all went on to Waterloo Bridge. The whole cast went and busked for the audience for about an hour and a half while the bomb squad came in and got rid of the bomb. And then we went back and we did the show. And of course, you know, we were down very, very late, but no one will ever forget that performance. And luckily, this man saw what was under his seat. But things like that are more common than you would ever guess. It's very, very unusual things can happen during live shows. So I do love live performance a lot. And thank you so much, Will, for that question. PJ, you say you recently mentioned you're directing all the videos for Posh Pop, my latest solo album coming out in the summer. Very exciting, can't wait. Would you ever like to direct a theatre play or a movie?
I've learnt while directing Posh Pop that, I mean, you have to be on top of every 360-degree angle of the experience. Now, we've shot the majority of videos. There's 10 in all. We are now editing the first 6. We shot them in lockdown. So I've had huge limitations. I've worked within a pod. This is how we got the album made, a pod of people that COVID tested during the last lockdown, so we could be together. We've all been COVID aware, all wearing face masks, but when I'm on camera, it's just me and the cameraman, Carlo, and we've worked against the limitations of time, no budget whatsoever, but I live in a beautiful house and we've been able to create magic with this house. And it's taught me so much about what you need to know and what you don't know, which goes back to motivation, inspiration. And perhaps I get inspired by what I don't know. It makes me go and search and solve problems. I've loved directing the videos on Posh Pop, and Simon Darlow, even Fripp has really enjoyed what I've tried to say within these videos. And I've picked up on a lot of influences within imagery that I want to make Instagram friendly within the videos. Lots of images that inspired me from the world of music and fashion from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s into the noughties. So there's a lot of kind of wink, wink, nod, nod. And there's also a hell of a lot of fun in the videos, because I believe, and Robert believes especially, that in adversity, being British, we kind of bring out humour. It's our way, it's our coping mechanism. So the videos are, if I had to stylistically say, there's little touches of Devo. There's little, that's Devo, the 1970s band. There's little touches of goth, there's little touches of rock, there's cartoon, there's little touches of kind of American B-52 type cartoon stuff. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and it's all done in this house using very beautiful images. And I also wanted the videos to be part of the listening process to the songs, because the one thing everyone agrees on about this album, it's one hell of a listening experience from the first song to the last song. It is a beautiful emotional journey that works. I have loved directing those. I realized with the stage play I would be okay doing a stage play, PJ, because my work with my acoustic show, with lighting, using back screens, using images on back screens and sound, it's what I do. I've been doing it intensely for the last 20 years, and obviously I've been doing it with other directors in other shows for the last 45 years. Directing a movie, I think, would be very ambitious, but I have been asked to direct a movie insert for something with quite a large budget, which I would definitely do, but I'm very much on a learning curve. So everyone, thank you so much for your questions, and thank you to Sydney Jake for coming on and talking about how he makes guitars, and you will get to see my guitar on my birthday. I'm very, very excited about that. We are going to go out with a version of Blue Meaning, which was recorded in the last 2 lockdowns, 1 bar 2. I think we recorded it just before Christmas, but we were just on that edge of coming out of lockdown. And it's Chris Wong and myself in my London apartment with a crew that kept 4 meters apart, all in masks. And this is part of the additional material on the release of Blue Meaning, which is coming out at the end of May on Cherry Red. It's acoustic, Chris Wong. It's a very, very difficult song because it's in 4/5 timing. We could only record it twice because of COVID restrictions. So I think that urgency is in the song, but it works with the subject matter. So everyone, I'll see you tonight on Agony Aunts. Please keep your questions coming in. We have a really lovely, lovely trip down memory lane with Sunday Lunch tomorrow. And I will see you next week with Toyah at Home. And thank you, thank you, thank you for your ears and eyes. We're going out, as I said, with a recording of the DVD version of Blue Meaning. And this is for you. Enjoy. This is Blue Meaning. big grey building breathes oxygen. Satanic mills, conceptive pills weave human beings out. In recycling grey dust into white snow. Then who knows? Who knows? The grey building breathes grey vapors into cold, icy skies, cold, icy skies. Crystals form in the grey buildings, hollow eyes. Black, hollow eyes, spiky, unfurnished, unthinking eyes. Black, hollow eyes. The red brick building competes with war, cuts down the infants that crawl across its floor. The young, the old, the red, the grey. Wars cannot alter what's here to stay. Disillusionists, ambitions for all. In truth, the skies, in truth, my eyes. Black, hollow eyes, spiky, unfurnished, unthinking eyes. Black, hollow eyes. The big grey building breathes oxygen. Satanic mills, conceptive pills weave human beings out. In recycling grey dust into white snow. Then who knows? The big grey building breathes grey vapors into icy skies. Crystals form in the grey buildings, mascaraed eyes, glossy, rebellious eyes, diverse little things, their naked blue meanings, mascaraed eyes, glossy, rebellious eyes, turning tunnels into the skies, stormy rooftops rip naked the sky, blue meanings, ambitions for all, into the skies, into my eyes, into the skies, blue meanings, grey buildings, blue meanings, into the skies, into my eyes,